expensive short-term funding. And we know in the capital markets, if you raise your money here and your company runs into trouble, nobody comes to evict you. Your Excellency, we took up your challenge and engaged MSMEs to listen to their concerns and appreciate what would attract them to the capital markets. In the process, we've demonstrated our commitment to supporting their financing journeys, and the NSE has consequently onboarded 33 of them into the Buka Incubator Program. And as we said earlier, we're going to accelerate how many of those can go higher and list on the larger boards. After listening to these stakeholders, CMA overhauled regulations on capital raising, what's known as the Draft Public Offers Listing and Disclosures Regulation, and we're now waiting for those regulations to be gazetted. There are 5 key reforms, basically making it easier, lowering the requirements, increasing the scope of companies that can raise capital, allowing the waiving of regulatory costs for deserving firms, and significantly lowering the costs of compliance. Your Excellency, the third point I'd like to make is that the CMA is focused heavily on promoting innovation in this space. You recently pronounced that we need to fully leverage the fintech space to enable small investors to access affordable capital. CMA introduced a regulatory sandbox in 2020, a safe place where businesses can test innovative products, innovative services, and innovative business models in conjunction with CMA to develop the appropriate regulatory guidelines. For example, we have witnessed an influx of interest in blockchain and digital assets-related applications, which have raised the need for the CMA to study the global trends and create our policies within the space. The sandbox has attracted great interest from the youth, from private equity and venture capital players. 12 have come in, 6 have exited, and the most recent one being Possession, a debt crowding platform. We've looked at your Kenya Kwanza manifesto, and we see innovation opportunities in agriculture. We're supporting innovation in implementing structured commodities trading through the warehouse receipt system and supporting the launch of fully fledged commodities exchanges. Additionally, we continue to push for reforms in the coffee sector, which have dramatically slowed by the recently gazetted regulations by the Ministry of Agriculture. We need the capital markets to continue to oversee the revamped commodities trading environment to provide greater transparency and higher prices. In housing and settlement, we will continue to push real estate investment trusts, real estate development trusts. We saw the listing of Acorn and Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company. And on infrastructure, we'll continue to push county project bonds, and we heard from my good friend, Governor Sakaja, about Nairobi. With those few remarks, Your Excellency, as I get pulled off stage, I'm only on page 3, Mr. Wanjohi. But let me just reiterate the CMA's commitment to increasing the saving opportunities for Kenya, creating opportunities for companies to benefit from a revamped and revitalized and more market-focused capital markets, and our commitment to continue to drive innovation in all areas to help us get there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Your Excellency. It's an exciting day for the stock markets, and you would understand that they have taken a bit longer. I request the next speaker kindly. We have to ring the bell at exactly 9:30, so I request the chairperson, Kenya Association of Stockbrokers and Investment Banks, to come forward and recognize pioneer trading partners. Kindly, 5 minutes, kindly.
Your Excellency, the President, riding on all protocols already established, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Your Excellency, on Monday, 5th September 2022, the Nairobi Securities Exchange reacted positively to the Supreme Court ruling upholding your victory by gaining 42 billion on that trading day alone. On that day, as we received trading orders from our local and foreign clients, This reaction by investors was the clearest indication that the market embraced your win and that it has confidence in your stewardship of the Kenya economy generally and the financial markets in particular. Your Excellency, the support you have accorded the industry over the years is unprecedented, unmatched, and appreciated. What many people do not know and what we would like to highlight today is how instrumental you have been in guiding the innovation of the new capital markets products like Ibuka and M-Akiba. As the Kenya Association of Stockbrokers and Investment Banks, we have always been and remain sincerely grateful for your support. As you embark on the task of implementing the government agenda, we confirm that the industry is willing, ready, and eager to offer our support. We seek to hold hands with government and generate capital to complement the government initiatives aimed at raising funds and growing the well-being of Kenyans. On 5th September, when the stock market investors embraced your win, they also embraced the economic agenda and your manifesto, which shall spur economic tirelessly spoken of. Your Excellency, to Wanjiku. We are here to support, educate, and encourage her to invest, and we are on the ground. Your Excellency, allow me to echo what will be the Chairman's humble request that your administration consider favorably the privatization of state-owned enterprises. This is how we shall democratize ownership of national assets and ensure that all Kenyans have equal opportunity to wealth, and that all Kenyans take advantage of their birthright, this Nairobi Securities Exchange. There can be no better example of a bottom-up solution than this, where Kenyans are financially empowered and given the opportunity to be shareholders in state-owned enterprises through the stock market. Additionally, a strong capital markets where companies in their ordinary course of business raise funds from the market is a critical check and balance to keeping commercial bank lending rates low. In addition to government IPOs, we also place for your consideration the support of county governments issuing issuances like county bonds with the backing of central government. If structured and ring-fenced well, these securities shall provide the much-needed additional source of funding for projects at county level, mitigate the over-reliance on national government with effects truly felt by Wanjiku. Finally, Your Excellency, we remain committed to the government agenda and with humility express our interest to be part of the team that shall deliver the national dream of rebuilding the Kenya economy. Your Excellency, we remain dedicatedly at your service. Thank you very much. It is now with great pleasure that I introduce a market player known to most of you, Mr. Jimna Mbaru, Chairman of Dyer and Blair Investment Bank and former Chairman of the Nairobi Securities Exchange from 1992 to 2001, a period of 9 years, to introduce to us the pioneer stockbrokers at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Karibu sana, Chairman Emeritus.
Your Excellency, the President, the Deputy President, the Governor of Nairobi, Ministers, all protocols observed. Traditionally, I know the bell has to be rang exactly on the spot, and I do not intend in any way to deviate from the practice which has been there globally and which we have embraced here in the Republic of Kenya. Now, I want to say this, that we are very lucky, Your Excellency, that you have been able to make it to the stock exchange. There were 4 other presidents who had come here before. We hosted Honorable His Excellency Museveni, President of Uganda, in the 90s. We also hosted the late President Arap Moi on 2 occasions. And in fact, in 1998, he came exactly 1 month after he was elected, exactly the way you have done. He also came again in the same decade, and he rang the bell also. We hosted President Mwai Kibaki, the late Mwai Kibaki, more than 4 times. We even had on occasion to give him 3 lunches. And therefore, we are very, very lucky indeed. I also want to say that we hosted the Secretary of Treasury of U.S. government, and if we had more time, I would have explained how elaborate that procedure was, but it was very difficult, but we did it. So it is grateful that, and we are delighted that you have been able to come. You are the 5th international leader to come here, and you are the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya. We are truly blessed. My job is very little, is to introduce the original pioneers of this industry. And the first one is Honorable Genye Kariuki, who was the chairman for 12 years. Genye Kariuki. Then we have James Wangunyu. James Wangunyu is the chairman of SIB, Bob Karina, and Dennis Waweru, who is here. And we have Stanley Gaine. We have James Moligo. We have Dungu Gadenji, who is not here. We have Phil Marsham of Castro, who may not be here. The late Francis Duo was also a very great founder. Paul Mwai is here, and James Moligo, and finally myself. Over the years, and I don't want to take any more time, you know, the stock exchange has played a very important role in the localization of industries, privatizations, and even helping banks to recapitalize. But the most important thing we did during Kibaki's era is to develop the bond market, which continues even today to help the government to raise insufficient resources to finance the economy. Thank you very much indeed. If I had time, I would have said a few more, but time does not have. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, Your Excellency, the Chairperson, Mr. Kiprono Kitoni, the Chairperson, Nairobi Securities Exchange. Bwana Kiprono, karibu sana, Bwana Chairman.
Your Excellency, the President, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, leaders from the political class, leaders from the executive, business leaders, and fellow hustlers. And I say that in earnest, Your Excellency, because my friend Benson Wairegi once told me the story of how he began life with Jim Nambaru, and we know the story of Equity Bank as well. And Your Excellency, these owners of capital are actually hustlers made good. So they are really in line with what you've been saying. Good morning. We welcome you this morning. It's a great pleasure, it's an honor and a privilege to welcome the 5th President of the Republic and his Deputy President to the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Coming so early in your reign, it shows the significance that you place on our markets, and it marks a very special day not just for the NSC, but for the entire capital market ecosystem in this country. We are the 5th largest exchange in Africa, certainly the most dynamic in sub-Saharan Africa, and we are a bellwether, like many other exchanges are, in which you can tell the economic performance of a nation through the performance of an exchange. Your presence here today is significant. It's a testament of your commitment to priority economic reforms aimed at supporting medium to long-term economic growth, an increase in employment opportunities, as well as reducing fiscal vulnerabilities in our economy. As you've rightfully pronounced on various platforms, local capital markets are an important economic tool, if well harnessed, have a unique potential to accelerate sustainable economic growth needed to broaden prosperity and reduce poverty in a country driving wealth creation. Similarly, Mr. President, deeper and more efficient equity and debt markets provide an effective and efficient way of mobilizing domestic resources and international capital, complementing traditional financing through fostering risk and long-term investments. Through this, public capital markets play a bigger role in channeling private capital in sectors with financing needs such as infrastructure, agriculture, housing, health, small and medium-sized enterprises, amongst others. Further, domestic capital markets help protect economies from volatile fluctuations in capital flows and reduce their dependency on foreign debt, which weighs heavily on economies, especially ours here. Your Excellency, over the last few years, the NSE has made significant investments aimed at enabling us to offer world-class services through a world-class market infrastructure anchored on a globally recognized investment products and cutting-edge technology. The NSE has been successful in developing a broad range of diverse investment products, enabling issuers to raise capital, investors to build portfolios across a wide range of globally recognized products. Currently, the NSE is the second most diverse in Africa, after South Africa, and I recognize Trevor Manuel here, the chairman of Old Mutual. From a technology point of view, the NSE has adopted best-in-class technology, deploying similar technological capabilities offered by the leading exchanges in the world, such as the London Stock Exchange. Despite investments to enhance market infrastructure, our market has not experienced commensurate, robust growth over the last 10 years. In fact, the last few years have been particularly depressing. The situation has decreased domestic and foreign direct investment in our country that is usually channeled through the capital markets. In our view, Kenya, being one of the most promising frontier economies in the world, may soon not have the public capital markets to match the dynamism if the challenge is not adequately addressed. Your Excellency, capital markets are driven by sentiments, and the positive sentiment of your victory lifted the market, as Mr. Wangunyu said. But I'm certain that today your presence here and the pronouncements that you will make will lift the market even further and inspire confidence not just by the owners of capital, but by the investing public out there. At the moment, 65% of all the funds trading in our market are foreign funds, and 35% are local funds. But I'm certain that there's a lot that we can do to stimulate the local economy to participate more in retail investing, and you've been very passionate yourself about the public doing more in gaming than they are on the stock market, and we completely ascribe to that school of thought. It is against that background, Your Excellency, that we launched the NSE Marketplace, an initiative that seeks to revive market activity and boost growth in our domestic capital market through addressing both the supply and the demand side to accelerate growth. The NSE Marketplace will provide a platform for Kenya to communicate investment opportunities to the world, positioning the country as a hub for trade and investments, enabling Kenya to attract FDI across various leading emerging sectors in Kenya through the NSE. Similarly, the NSE Marketplace will help highlight opportunities for global companies looking for international expansion, specifically in Africa, and we recognize you now in only 1 month of leadership as a champion for Africa, to consider listing on these markets. Equally, working closely with local and international media, the NSE Marketplace will open the trading floor for access to all media houses and all stakeholders and our partners to communicate investment and economic-related information from the NSE, increasing awareness of opportunities in Kenya. You might want to know that the NSE today is actually one of the leading vendors of information on financial activity. Additionally, the NSE Marketplace will help accelerate listing routes for leading companies through offering client-focused advisory and guidance to potential issuers, significantly reducing the time to market. Your Excellency, as I highlight these opportunities, I must shorten my speech because the market must open in 5 minutes, in 2 minutes. So I'll actually go straight to the conclusion. Over the past 2 decades, the government has leveraged the Kenyan capital markets to raise capital to finance various projects, as well as to transfer ownership of assets through privatization. As you mark your first visit to the exchange, Mr. President, it is our humble request that your administration rejuvenates the privatization program. The privatization of state-owned enterprises will mark a decisive point in broadening Kenya's appeal to both domestic and international investors. That is our main ask today. We equally request the government to consider releasing additional shares in already listed companies, KCB, Safaricom, and the likes, enabling us to increase more opportunities, revitalize interest among Kenyans, as well as to help address corporate governance issues. I'm sure, Mr. President, you agree with me that many parastatals today, if they were listed, you would not have an issue with governance. Today, some companies like Safaricom, Equity, they are leading on ESG, and we must continue to emulate them. Your Excellency, I have no more time, so I will cut my speech there. And I want to conclude by really appreciating you for appointing Moses Kuria as the Minister for Trade and Investment. I've known Mheshimiwa for a long time, and I knew him as a hard-nosed, sharp-tongued politician. I did not know he was a business consummate leader like he is. The last few days of interacting, sir, we are confident that under his stewardship, we will go places. With those few and many words, and the rest I will share with you because there is no more time, we would like to invite you, Your Excellency, to open the market through the bell ringing. Thank you, sir.
Welcome, Your Excellency. Thank you. Welcome, sir. Your Excellency. We can use this staircase, Your Excellency. Sir, you can join Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. So this is a historic moment for us at the exchange, and there will be a countdown. I don't know how the countdown is being done. Whoever is responsible for the countdown, at the end of the countdown, Mr. President, we shall ask you to ring the bell, and I'm sure that that ringing of the bell will lift not just this boat, but all boats.
13, 12, 11, 10, 9, in 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1. And now the bell goes, ladies and gentlemen. And the ringing of the bell signifies the opening of the markets for the day. It signifies the opening of the markets for the day. Thank you. And we pause, Your Excellency, for just one photo there after ringing the bell. One photo with Your Excellency after ringing the bell. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. As the rest of us retreat, I wish now to invite Your Excellency to participate in the trading for the day. Welcome, Your Excellency, guided by the chairperson and the CEO. Your Excellency, you can join them. Here, Your Excellency, you can join Your Excellency. Wapiga picha tuondoke kidogo, tupatie Mheshimiwa Rais nafasi.
So I will key in a few orders for you to see how we do it. Okay. This is
the rest of us sit kindly. The rest of us be seated.
I'm selling 50,000 shares of Kengen at 3 shillings and 50 cents. So I've already keyed that in, and that's the client I'm selling for. And so I'll just click sell. And so that then goes into what we call a blotter, and you can see it. Let's see. Anyway, all the shares that are trading are keyed in, and you can see all the orders there. Okay. Let me just go back here. So I can key in another order. I will buy 400,000. Yes, of Cooperative, and my price is 11.80. But I won't put the whole lot. I'll just put a few first.
Do you need to explain
Do you have some?
I can puliza.
This is the order book for Cooperative Bank. I've just keyed in the order, and so you can see all the orders that are there. These are buyers. The highest bid is at 11.95, and the lowest offer is at 12.15.
So they are not matching.
So no, not yet. So if you want to match and you give me an order, we can sell to this one at 11.95, and the order will match.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Your Excellency, these are our traders. So we have 22 trading houses, and today they're here and on the other side. So we used to have the market here. They used to trade here, but now they trade in the offices, and they can see the market at the same time. Okay. As I said earlier, we have ability to buy and sell shares also same day. So you can buy Safaricom or you can buy Cooperative Bank and sell it the same day. So the market is actually dynamic. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Thank you, sir.
And we thank Your Excellency. Sasa tupige makofi, tumpongeze kwa makofi after participating in the trading for the day. Asante, we may all be seated as we continue with the program. Allow me, Your Excellency, sir, now to invite Madam Bide Mwema, the Chief Business Officer, NSC, to coordinate the session on listing experience. Bide, karibu. Kindly, if we can have the sound proper for her, kindly, thank you. Asante.
Good morning, Your Excellency, Dr. William Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya, the Deputy President, the Governor, all distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. We are very excited to be having the launch of the NSC Marketplace. The NSC has been here for 68 years. It's been a great journey for us, different milestones. So when we present the next speakers, who will be speaking to us about their listing experience, as well as the advantages and benefits of having come to the capital markets, it's only an honor to be able to present them. We have 5 speakers who will be coming to us today. We will start off with Mr. Peter Ndegwa, the Chief Executive Officer of Safaricom PLC. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Peter Ndegwa.
Your Excellency, the President, Dr. William Ruto, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, Your Excellency, the Governor of Nairobi, all protocols observed. Good morning, and thank you, Chair of Nairobi Stock Exchange, for the invite today. We've been given very strict time, so I'll keep to my time. So it is important to demystify the NSC and the stock exchange, the stock listing and trading with the launch of the NSC Marketplace. Safaricom is the largest listed business with approximately 1 trillion Kenya shillings in market capitalization since being listed around 2008. We have benefited hugely as Safaricom from the listing, from accessing finance locally, but also internationally. We have about 50-50 between local and international investors. It has helped us build our reputation and our own credibility, both here locally through the local participation, but also externally. And that is why Safaricom, as a local company, is able to go to markets such as Ethiopia. Last week, we made a huge milestone. And thank you, Your Excellency, for being the guest of honor at the launch of Safaricom Ethiopia, but also helping us with the getting the mobile financial services license in Ethiopia. Of course, we have benefited a lot, but I will speak also as a supplier of services, as a technology company. We need to solve some of the barriers, or continue to solve some of the barriers to both the listing and the trading, and broaden participation and liquidity. Stocks and exchange are complicated to the ordinary person and to small business owners. We need to raise awareness, we need to drive education, we need to simplify products, we need to improve experience, and also we need to reduce cost of access. There's no better way than digitizing and automating processes and customer journeys and some of the speakers have already started to speak. And since COVID, we've seen accelerated use of online platforms. Use of mobile handsets as a channel because it's ubiquitous, mobile payments as a way of settling and making experience seamless, and remove time-bound nature to trading would be some of the opportunities. We've partnered with the NSC and the capital markets, with the CDSC to innovate. Akiba buying bonds, the first mobile retail bond, Bonga points for shares from last year. Your Excellency, you may have a lot of Bonga points in your phone. I can tell you how to redeem some of those Bonga points for shares. We can do more together to promote fractional ownership of shares, and we can use digital channels for that, both shares and bonds, to democratize participation. But also on the supply side, we can do more to help MSMEs and SMEs who are, we have about 1 million SMEs on our platform. We can improve education, awareness, and deliver digital journeys. Listing is complicated and daunting, and managing a listed business is no mean task. Reporting, governance, ESG, and so on. As a corporate and as a technology company, we can work with especially for retail investors and medium-sized businesses who want to raise funding. It's about enabling savings, financing, investment, and partnership. Thank you, Your Excellency.
I think, ladies and gentlemen, we can do better than that. I will invite our next speaker for today, Ms. Jane Karuku, the Chief Executive Officer of East African Breweries Limited.
Good morning, everybody. Your Excellency, I've been told I can say all protocols observed and it's okay. All right, so I'm very honored to be here this morning, particularly to talk at the NSC. We are proud as a company, we are very proud. We are one of the five. Imagine that. I guess it was still very expensive. And in 2017 and in 2021. As a regional company, we always look to the Nairobi Stock Exchange to raise funds for our expansion in capital projects or even for operations. And some of the money we just raised in 6 months ago, or going back, 2015 we raised 5 billion, 2017 we raised 6 billion, and I guarantee you we've been paying back. We've never defaulted on any. In 2021, just a few months ago, we raised 11 billion shillings. When we came to the market, we got oversubscribed to 38 billion shillings. So we wished we had plans to do that. So I think what I'm saying, there's a lot of money in the market. And I remember when we came, we were talking to the NSC and CMA and the people and the other regulators. We were looking for efficiencies, and I must say we got that efficiency. And this was actually recognized as one of the best bonds by the Bonds and Loans Africa in local currency. It was the bond of the year. I think you need to clap for that, because working with NSC, CMA, and other partners, ABSA, and image registrars, I think we did a great job on technology. It was during COVID. We didn't have any physical meetings, but everything was transacted via Safaricom and via Zoom calls, etc., etc. Now, I think going forward, there's some things that we can do. I think we need more innovation, and I think all speakers are talking about innovation. We are talking of green bonds. We are talking about bringing the cost of transactions down, and I think we can also do better in terms of regulation. Sometimes the regulators, and I know I keep telling my friends on the left, Shamir, some of the regulations sometimes come in the way of efficiencies at the stock exchange. So thank you very much. I hope you're buying our shares. And I'm not here to compete with Peter. But one last thing, I think if we improve the efficiency of the stock exchange, we can bring better efficiency and yields to people who are investing. So thank you very much.
If you're not buying the shares, you can clap harder. Once again, Ms. Jane Karuku, the Chief Executive Officer of East African Breweries. Next up, we have Dr. James Mwangi, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Equity Group, PLC.
Your Excellency the President, Your Excellency the Deputy President, Excellency the Governor of Nairobi, investors, the leadership of NSE and Capital Market, Your Excellency, it's a really great honor that you have done to us who are in the stock exchange by ringing the bell today. Let me try and just focus on our experience. My friend Kiprono said these equity represent hustlers coming good. And truly, I still remember the 1st of January 2005. We are talking of 17 years ago, when Equity Building Society, a village mutual fund owned by 2,500 farmers, mainly tea, milk, and informal traders, got equity convert from a mutual fund to a bank. The following year, we entered the Nairobi Stock Exchange. It was a rigorous process, as Peter and Jane has said, complex, of course, for the hustlers. So my friend Peter Murigo was guiding me on this. Peter, where are you? I really recognize that great movement. But we argued a lot. As I said, we want an IPO. He told me your shares will trade at 70 shillings. That will be the introduction price. We'll ring the bell at 70. I said, Peter, we have worked very hard. We believe the price is 120. So we disagreed. Then I told him, we are equity. We seek fairness and justice. Let's list through an introduction without raising money. And sure thing, when we rang the bell, the price struck at 123. The hustlers could have lost 71% of their value through a valuation. So the most important thing about Nairobi Stock Exchange is helping you to discover the true value. It's an honest price that the market gives. A year later, 2006, we then used the discovered price of 123 to raise money from Helios, and we all know it became the largest investment transaction in the region. Again, midwifed by Jimna Barrow. Jimna, I'm very grateful for that. On that day, we raised $185 million. It was 11.4 billion Kenya shillings, making us the most capitalized bank. I think the most significant thing is the power of a stock exchange to raise capital. The hustlers from Nyagatogo village had found a way of getting partners who had capital, and they had capitalized their business. Take it from that, on that day, I can see, but allow me to tell the story of the hustlers. Thank you very much. Taking it from that day, we didn't, because we had raised capital from one individual as a strategic investor to give us anchor, the 2,000 hustlers found liquidity from the stock exchange. Today, they have sold to 30,000 other investors without equity ever issuing shares. The amount they have delivered, the 2,000 have become anchor SME investors in this country, in all sectors. Your Excellency, you know most of them, both are friends. So we can see how the market avails liquidity when needed. The hustlers don't need to go, they don't need to negotiate with anybody. the market discovers the price for them. Lastly is then the ability to transition the entity. Equity today has grown. When we rang the bell, the market cap was 4 billion shillings. The balance sheet was 12 billion shillings. Today, the market cap, Your Excellency, is 175 billion and a balance sheet of 1.4 trillion shillings. That is a very complex organization. But the stock exchange has allowed us to be able to transit and the Hasura shareholders to invite sophisticated and complex shareholders. Today, Equity's largest shareholder is the sovereign wealth fund of Norway, Norfund, holding 13% shareholding. And without ever having been sold to the company, they bought from the market. The second largest shareholder is the World Bank Group. Recently concluded a transaction in April this year when they bought the shares of 7% of the shares of Britain. And we can see how Equity then can move from a Hasura company to a global company simply because of a stock exchange. Allow me, lastly, to appreciate the power of governance. And maybe we said we could continue to strengthen the governance structures of the listed companies, the capital markets, the NSE legal framework, to enforce very strong corporate governance. This is what has enabled Equity in the last 3 years to be able to raise 150 billion Kenya shillings of foreign loans to be able to lead to our real economy. And we are able to give significant loans, either in local currency and shillings, simply because there is an assurance, because there is visibility from the stock exchange. But more importantly, the value of that governance. The shareholders, the Hasuras who were in Equity in 2,500, have realized from one share through bonuses and splits, 600 shares. Their wealth over a period from 2000 to date has gone up 159,000%, simply because of strong governance structure. So growth is quickly translated into value because of strong governance structure. So in closure, Your Excellency, I plead with you to use the Nairobi Stock Exchange to empower the Hasura community. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you. We can do better than that. This place is a place for empowering stock, not only the capital markets, but the SMEs. Then we have our next speaker, who's Dr. Gideon Muriuki, the Chief Executive Officer of Cooperative Bank. Let's put our hands together for him. Welcome, sir.
Your Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, Your Excellency, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, the Deputy President, Your Excellency, the Governor, Honorable Sakanja, Professor Jogona Dungu, incoming Cabinet Secretary, the National Treasury, Economic Planning, Honorable Moses Kuria, incoming Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Trade, Investments and Industry, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, I was asked to share the CoBank story. And the CoBank story is one of a small bank seeking to raise capital to increase its competitive edge in the industry, and particularly, as you know, our structure to ring-fence the cooperative sector, that's the bottom of the pyramid that predominantly owns the bank. The Kenyan cooperative movement, Your Excellency, with over 13 million members in over 22,000 cooperative societies and circles across all sectors, is the largest in Africa. The alternative, Your Excellency, of leveraging on retained earnings in terms of being competitive as a bank. Your Excellency, we started our IPO preparation in year 2007, and we had to deal with a couple of challenges. The very first challenge was coming from the bottom of the pyramid as a cooperative society. We had been incorporated as a cooperative society at the very onset. And so when we came to CMA law applied to limited liability companies. We needed to deal with that issue of how do we get to listed as a cooperative society. Number two, Your Excellency, there was a fear of loss of by the cooperative movement. They thought possibly they will lose control of this bank if it is listed. And thirdly, Your Excellency, when we actually finally came to the market, it was in 2008 when we had the global crisis. And there was a lot of discussion in terms of whether we should go on and not go on. And this morning I was remembering Mr. Mbaru and Mr. Wangunyu and Bob Karina. They came to my office and we had a lot of discussion, and eventually there were statements to and fro we should not go ahead, but eventually we went ahead with the listing, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, the IPO raised 5.4 billion. That 5.4 billion for a cooperative bank, Your Excellency, was a lot of money. That money came in handy for us as a bank, supporting the bottom of the pyramid. We have progressively increased our footprint from only 59 branches then when we were listing to over 180 branches in the region today. We have diversified our product growth and the customer base to now, from where we were about 1 million customers, then we are over 9 million Kenyans that are banking with the Cooperative Bank. Deepened our penetration in corporate and commercial banking, but more notably, Your Excellency, we have really penetrated the MSME market. Today, as a bank, we have over 1.9 million Kenyans in the MSME market with us. We went into fund management. We have a subsidiary business for fund management, managing over 200 billion of funds today, Cooperative Investment Services. We went into regional expansion in South Sudan, invested in additional transformation in the bank. Today, over 94% of our transactions as a bank, Your Excellency, are on alternative channels because of that digital transformation. We also went into insurance business, bought 25% of insurance, CIC Insurance Group. We also went into stockbroking business, and also through Kingdom Securities. More importantly, Your Excellency, we strengthened our grip in the cooperative sector. We invested a lot of money, as you're aware, in the cooperative sector, in the cooperative societies. We have an integrated financial system with the cooperative movement. We created, after the money we got from the listing, we created an advisory company. We employed over 20 consultants who, on a full-time basis, spend time in the cooperative movement, building capacity in the cooperative movement. Your Excellency, you will be pleased to know that today, SACCOs have over 550 banking sections, what we call the FOSAs, in the rural areas, with a very deep penetration to that bottom of the pyramid and doing great work down there. And so, Your Excellency, today, CoBank, with an asset base today of over 600 billion, from the small bank that had around 83 billion you are listing, we believe we are playing a much bigger role in the support of our Kenyan people and the region. For instance, Your Excellency, my friend Peter Degwa Safaricom will tell you that CoBank and that SACCO integrated model, Your Excellency, is doing the largest LIPA and M-Pesa termination for Safaricom. We are terminating over 500 billion shillings every year, and this is increasing to about 65 billion per month now for the market. Your Excellency, allow me to mention that during the COVID-19 crisis, when conventional wisdom was that we don't distribute dividends, and there was a word we don't distribute dividend, CoBank actually approached our regulator, Central Bank of Kenya, and the Deputy Governor is here, and we told Central Bank, CoBank was created for a time like this. If there is a global crisis, if there is a financial crisis at a COVID-19, the retro will make us CoBank, we should share with the millions of Kenya out there. And the Governor, Central Bank of Kenya, Your Excellency, did support us. And during 2019 and 2020, Your Excellency, CoBank distributed over 11 billion shillings to the cooperative movement as dividends at that critical moment, which was a very timely relief for that sector. Your Excellency, I can't conclude without thanking you for creating the dedicated Ministry of Cooperatives and SMEs, Your Excellency, and CS Honorable Simon Chirugui. We are all set for the key challenges you have set for us to further deepen this sector, Your Excellency. The SACCO's structure, Your Excellency, meets the requirements of successfully handling the Hustler Fund in terms of financial access, in terms of traceability, Your Excellency, in terms of inclusivity, in terms of affordability, and overall sustainability of the fund. We have very good group lending models within the SACCOs that will be able to take you there for that. And as I conclude, Your Excellency, I will just say from our journey as Bank, I overwhelmingly encourage more corporates to list a Nairobi Securities Exchange. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you so much. That was Dr. Gideon Muriuki, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Cooperative Bank. Last but not least, in terms of the people who are talking to us about the listing experience, is Mr. Jose Akili. What we were trying to achieve in this segment was to demonstrate the benefits of listing for existing issuances, but also to get people who are considering the capital markets to give us their perspective when it comes to that. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Jose Akili, Chief Executive Officer, CPF Financial Services. Over to you, sir.
Your Excellency, the President, the Deputy President, all protocols of served. I stand here, sir, to represent both CPF Financial Services Group, which comprises the Lap Trust Pension Fund, which was started in 1929 under City Council of Nairobi, and the County Pension Fund, which is now the scheme for umbrella scheme for 47 county governments. I also stand here to represent Association of Pension Trustees and Administrators of Kenya as their chairman, APTAC, which together we hold a value of over 1.6 trillion Kenya shillings in assets. We invest 47% into this market. In other words, all these listed companies are holding our money, and we are the biggest shareholder, I think, as a group. I'm glad to say, sir, that pension industry is a real engine of growth in a country like Kenya, just like in other parts of the world. The experience worldwide is that harnessing long-term contract funds, like pension funds, really is the solution to prosperity in a country. I want to say, for example, that through my own initiatives, working with our regulator, we've been able to unlock a certain amount of funding from the industry. We, for example, have dedicated 10% of our entire holding of 1.6 trillion available for affordable housing instruments. So the only challenge is that this has not been fully put forward or arranged within the industry so that we can focus it on that sector as you desire, and we are definitely ready to engage with your government. We actually want you to have a similar engagement with us as an industry, just like you are doing today with the capital markets. And we request that you give us audience. Secondly, sir, we are the biggest partner for the government in infrastructure development and investment. For example, if there was a serious thinking, most of the investments like the Lamu Port, SGR, Expressway, all would have been done by the pension industry if the instruments were structured well. You don't need foreign funding for that. The only thing, sir, we want to ask you is that there is a very interesting issue with your tax administration. There's a huge taxation on contributions of pensions into pension schemes, discouraging people to save. There is also a huge taxation on living when you're collecting your pension. Something is wrong, definitely, sir, because if you want to encourage more savings as you want to do, you have to sort it out. You've got to remove it. I would not want your support, which you promised the Kenyans, that you'll match for every 2 shillings they put in, you'll put a shilling. If it will end up in taxation, then I want to say on behalf of that industry, sir, that I served on their behalf in this stock exchange for the last 9 years, and I'm proud of the reforms we put together, and that's why we see this industry the way it is. We would like to see more listings. With the money we already have, we are unable to actually deploy it effectively to this market because there are no instruments, there are no listings. I would like to encourage the private sector the family concerns, the family businesses to come to this market. I mean, I know we are encouraging our government to bring the market, but I want to challenge our brothers and sisters who have invested in the private sector. I see Fimalsha there and others. Surely, why can't we bring the listing so that we can be able to buy into it? On behalf again of my CBF Financial Services Group, we have a lot of sizable property investment, around 17 billion, and we want to list part of it in this market. And we have actually applied to our regulators, and we are hoping that they will in due course give us the green light to bring the first ever IREIT, income REIT, real estate investment trust from the pension sector coming from LAP Trust of 7 billion shillings. And I hope we will be able to achieve that in due course. Finally, sir, we would like, again, as soon as possible, there are so many challenges in the pension industry. We would like to engage with you, and then you'll be able to clear the way, because I know you personally. You are able to solve the problems for us so that we can be able to mobilize more money and help you to actually rely more on local resources as opposed to foreign resources. So the final thing I want to say is that kindly make pension saving for all citizens mandatory. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do another round of applause for the comments from Mr. Jose Akili, the Chief Executive Officer of CPF Financial Services. It was certainly my honor and privilege, your President, sir, to be able to facilitate this. My name is Mbithe Mwema. I'm the Chief Business Officer at the NSC. I have the humility and the privilege to actually work under my CEO, Mr. Geoffrey Odundo, who's the Chief Executive Officer, my Chairman, Mr. Kiprono Kitoni, and also my incoming Minister of Investments and Trade, Honorable Moses Kuria. I mentioned that just to say we are ready, whether you are in the public sector or the private sector. We have demonstrated to you that the NSC is the place where you get the power of capital. You unlock your value proposition as a company. And Your Excellency, sir, this is the place for hustlers. Tuko gangari. Na kwa lugha ya stockbrokers tuko firm. Stockbrokers tuko firm. Asante sana. All the best. God bless you and God bless Kenya. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bithe. Your Excellency, if it pleases Your Excellency, I will now invite Terian Chebet to moderate the high-level panel session. Terian, kindly.
Your Excellency, sirs, ladies and gentlemen, this high-level panel discussion is premised on the recognition that the revitalization of the economy through the capital markets, as well as the revitalization of the privatization program, cannot happen unless all the panelists present here today make not only firm but measurable commitments, unless the institutions they lead align on the similar vision, unless the leaders here today commit to give goodwill, then our discussion is just another talk shop. My name is Terian Chebet, and I will be moderating this conversation this morning. And I'd like to welcome my panelists, Engineer Stanley Kamau, Director General, Public Investments Portfolio, Management Directorate at the National Treasury, Mr. Christopher Hooker, please make your way upstage, Acting Director General, Kenya Development Corporation, Ms. Olivia Racher, Acting Chief Executive Officer at the Kenya Investment Authority, Dr. Anthony Omerikwa, Managing Trustee, the National Social Security Fund, Mr. Oscar Njuguna, Acting Chief Executive Officer, Nairobi International Financial Center Authority, Mr. Joseph Koskei, Executive Director, Privatization Commission, Mr. Kiprono Kitoni, Board Chairman of the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya. Let's give our chief guest a warm round of applause.
Okay, let's remove this.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, sir, I'd like to start off with you to kick off our conversation this morning. What is your vision for Kenya's capital markets?
Thank you very much, Marianne. My coming here this morning is not by default. It's not because I didn't have anything else to do. I came here deliberately because I believe the stock market has potential to help us do a couple of things. Number one, I believe the capital markets, and I've said this before, has the potential to help us raise development capital as government. Through the bond market, through listings of public owned companies, as has been said here by somebody, democratizing ownership and by extension wealth, making sure that more people have a stake in public companies that are doing well. And therefore, and I had this conversation a few years ago with the management of Nairobi Stock Exchange, the NSC. I have come here to ring the bell, not for trading, but for Nairobi Stock Exchange, Capital Markets Authority, and all institutions around the capital markets, that it is time to unlock the potential that exists in this institution to drive the economy of our country. I do not need any evidence beyond what James Mwangi has said or beyond what Safaricom have told us. There is demonstrable evidence that in the stock market, there is potential for us to raise the resources that today we are struggling to raise using debt instruments, using instruments that we are looking for in foreign capitals, debt what we are looking for multilateral institutions. That money that we are so desperately looking for out there, with proper instruments, we can get those resources from the people of Kenya through the Nairobi Stock Exchange. And I look forward from where I sit to government of Kenya raising more resources for our development using this NSC. I look forward to many Kenyans having the opportunity to buy, to sell, and to grow their wealth using the Nairobi Exchange. I look forward, for example, to that border guy. When waiting for the next customer, he is trading on his phone. That's really, I look forward. Instead of that border guy playing gaming, you know, the whole space that's now full of betting and guesswork and people losing money. I am looking forward to the time when Mama Mboga, while she's waiting for her next supply, she's on her phone buying Safaricom shares, buying Kenya Breweries shares, buying, hopefully, we should be able to buy Bitco shares, and the rest of them, you know. So that's really where I'm looking for. I'm looking at what we as government will be doing on one end and what Mama Mboga and Boda will be doing on the other end. Everything in between is possible. That's my vision.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Mr. Kitoni, I'd like to come to you now. The capital markets has had a dearth of listings over the last 13 years, and we'd like to find out where have the biggest challenges been, and what would it take to ensure more private listings, let's say at least 5, over the next 12 months?
Thank you very much, Terry-Ann. First of all, just to say that what His Excellency has just said is like music to my ears. And reading the Bible, they say, seek and you shall find, knock and the door shall be opened unto you. Jeff and I and our board and all of us actors in the capital markets, we've been knocking on the door for many years until we almost started to think that that biblical verse does not hold true. But Your Excellency, what you've said today is really like what we've been waiting for. With respect to your question about the dearth of listings on the exchange, I would say 2 things. One is the process. We've had a serious challenge with the process, particularly through the privatization process and the onerous bureaucracy that entails before listing is done. And it is something that we have discussed numerously with the Cabinet Secretary Designate, and it is something that I believe if the obstacles and the hurdles towards listing are addressed, then I'm sure we are going to see the listings come back again. I think the years 2002 to 2010 saw very many listings, and it saw a real lifting of these markets. And the second thing, obviously, is that in most developed markets, the public sector or state-owned enterprise listings lead the charge and is always followed and reciprocated by the private sector. We saw that in France with Euronext, we saw that in the LSE, we've seen it in New York and in many other places. The second thing is obviously the confidence of the business owners to know that they will realize value. And I believe that the testaments that we have received today from the owners of the enterprise that have spoken before us is a clear demonstration, and I'm certain that with that messaging and with the fact that there is a demonstrable evidence that there is a huge benefit in listing, that matter will be remedied in the year to come. In the year to come. We've talked about measurable, so 12 months. So thank you, Chairman, for reminding us that you can do that in 12 months, and hopefully we will all be here to check that it has been done. Engineer Kamau, I'd like to come to you. Kenya has a Privatization Act, which was meant to spur listings by the government, which, as we all know, has not. Perhaps you can tell us what needs to be relooked at within the Privatization Act with a view to bring at least 5 public listings over the next 12 months.
Thank you very much. I think first of all, we need to look at the objective of the privatization. And I think when the government came up with the Privatization Act, the objective was actually to raise additional money to be able to finance the budget and also create opportunities for Kenyans to own part of these businesses. Now, this law was established, enacted in 2005 and operationalized in 2008. But largely we can say, if you look at the reason and the objective for which this act was established, we have not been able to achieve this. And for a number of reasons. I think you need to appreciate that the law has a lot of bureaucracy. I was looking at the kind of steps that you need to go through to privatize a city corporation. It takes about 16 to 17 steps. And I think some of those steps will take maybe 3, 4, 5 months. So we need to look at the act and see which areas we need to remove. And in my view, possibly we may also need to look at broadly the whole framework for privatization. Yeah? And because when I look at the government, we need to do 2 things. We need to do the primary listing. That is the new entities that we need to bring in the stock market so that we can increase the volume. And we also need to look at the secondary listings, which is the companies or the parastatals that are listed where government has shares. We need to offload some of those shares. And we need to have flexibility as government as well, as an investor in an NSC, to be able to trade freely. If you look at the stock market currently, I was looking at the estimate yesterday, the estimated investment by government is 426 billion Kenyan shillings. That's a very large investment for government, and therefore we need the flexibility to be able to do that. Now, at the currently, if you have to even sell one share as government in the stock market, we have to go through the privatization law. That will take us possibly another 2-3 years. It becomes very difficult. So, in my view, we need to overhaul the law and create possibly a framework that is a little bit faster. But I also, looking at the previous work that had been done earlier, the government had recommended that we create what you call a government investment company, particularly ownership, because that ownership policy was very critical, because that company in itself was supposed to own the assets of government, the parastatals, and it would be able to acquire and sell freely. And I think this is the kind of framework that we need for us to be able to offload some of these companies in the market. Now, talking about the 5 companies that you said in 12 months, I think we have no problem of identifying those 5 companies. I think we have very many companies we can bring on board. But at the same time, I think I do appreciate that one of the things that we needed most, and that is needed most, is also political support and policy support. Because last time, when we were trying to do some privatization, there was the privatization program was put in abeyance in 2014, and this was only lifted in 2019. So even though there was traction to be able to proceed with that process, it may not have been possible because that policy direction was not there. And I think I can see now we have all the commitment that we need, so we can be able to move ahead, create the necessary environment to do so. And I think within 12 months, we can be able to bring the likes of KPC, KPA, whatever other companies that we may agree within government. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer. Mr. Hook, I'd like to come to you now. KDC is mandated to play a catalytic role in Kenya's socio-economic development by providing long-term financing and other financial investment and advisory services as well. Is there a case to exempt KDC from the Privatization Act in order to bring quick transactions into the market?
Thank you, Terian, for that question. KDC is a government-owned entity for development finance, so it's one of the strongest and the single DFI. Ideally, we are supposed to support the government in its priority development agenda in terms of mobilizing resources. Once resources are mobilized, we have both the support we give to enterprises, both on equity and debt. In terms of existing investments, we've got